from Malaga in the western part of the Mediterranean, we move to the eastern side, to Haifa, and next speaker will be Adele Shapiro. Adele several times spoke to us about the ancient Egyptian culture and how to read hieroglyphs, and fascinating, and the role of women in ancient Egypt. And now about something I didn't expect, the Turin Erotic Papyrus.
Hi, Eliezer.
How are you, Adele?
I'm okay.
I
I have a
knew...
bit of flu, so just excuse my voice, huh?
Oh, it's okay. Adele has worked in many, many roles, including travel writer and researcher. She's also an accountant, but not boring, as you can see by the subject she will present today, and caretaker. And I will say, by reading, a real character. She has given lectures and previous ITA conferences about Egyptian culture. And now, with no further ado, Adele, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so as you can see today, I have my very, very controversial papyrus, which Uri is just going to load for us. So just give us a minute.
Okay.
In the meantime, please, everyone, mute your microphones and stick to the policy that written questions in the chat, and we'll have 5 minutes at the end for the questions. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So do you see the screen? Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right. So normally, as Elia says, I discuss actual hieroglyphs and I translate them and I try to read them and I teach you kind of things about writing and all the different styles and ages of writing. But today we have a papyrus actually that has very little writing on it. So I've kind of had to do more like a lecture on visual literacy. So I'll be showing you some pictures and then just discussing what we can understand from the art. So it's kind of like more art history. And, you know, as you said, no one knows this papyrus exists really. It's almost been suppressed, I guess. How do I go to my next one? No. Where is it? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to show you some royal tombs paintings from the same period. And the royal tombs are very formal. Then we're going to do some non-royal tombs, which are nobles. And this is kind of like more people that are professional, but not royal tombs. Then I'm going to do a bit of art that's religious art, but it's erotic, semi. And then finally, we're going to get onto the papyrus. So I want you to be prepared for that because yeah, never mind. Let's just go ahead. Okay. All right. So we straight in at the deep end. Okay. So basically, this is a papyrus that was found. It's 3,000 years old. It's the only one that we have. Okay, so that is already a problem. We don't have nothing to compare it to. Okay, it's in very bad condition. So what people have done is they've spent like quite a lot of time reconstructing it, as you can see. And basically what I'm going to try to do today is decide really what is the intention of this papyrus? What was it for? You can debate with me afterwards, whatever you want to think. Let me know. Okay, so it was found around 1820 in the workers' village. And this I want to stress because it wasn't found in a royal tomb. And then it was taken to Italy and it's in the Turin Museum. So now that's why it's called the Turin Papyrus. Okay, so yeah, these are some of the scenes that we have, which are like very unusual. And Champollion saw it. He was very offended. If you read French, you can see there what he says in the original French. But basically, he said that he felt it was obscene. He might be right. You know, considering that Egyptian art is normally very religious, this was a shock. right, Eliezer? Okay, so the papyrus is it's one long scroll, 2.5 meters, and we have 12 scenes, which are these kinds of very acrobatic sexual scenes. And then we have final panel, which is animals, like cartoon animals. It's a very, very weird composition. And that's another thing that people find very strange, is that you have this like very erotic stuff, and then you almost have cartoons for children. Okay. So this is the first royal tomb I'll be speaking of. This is Tutankhamun, as you know. He's here with his gold sarcophagus. And basically, okay, I'm going to start with this panel. On the extreme left, you see King Tut. He's greeting the god Osiris. Osiris is dead. This is why we know he's dead. His skin is green. How we can tell he's a god is that he has this little bendy bit at the bottom of his beard. The people who are alive always have straight beards. The gods have bent beards. So what we have in the first panel is that we have King Tut embracing Osiris, and then his spirit double. Remember I spoke about Ka, and Ka is the duplicate spirit of a person. Ka is always drawn slightly smaller because the spirit has to fit into the body. Now, the spirit's already divine, as you can see by the beard. So you have his physical body and his spiritual body both embracing the god Osiris. Osiris is the god of the underworld. The middle panel is him greeting the sky god. And in the last panel, he's actually dressed as Osiris himself. He's already a god. He's bent, his beard is bent. And he's going through this ceremony called opening of the mouth, which is where they take the mummy and they actually cut the stitches on the mouth. And the guy who's performing this, the ceremony is the next pharaoh Ai. He was not meant to be the next pharaoh, but he's kind of like legitimizing his own reign by doing this. Okay, so I want to talk to you also a little bit about their jewelry, because the jewelry is used to demonstrate status, and I'm going to come back to that later. But here we have two very nice bracelets, the Khepri, the beetle god, and then we have Horus. Horus, of course, as you know, is the son of Osiris. He's the god of order. He fights chaos. And these kinds of collars and things are very important, and you'll see later why. And this is another collar. And of course, the counterweight at the back is like used to hold it in place. So these collars show the social status of the person. Okay, so this is another royal tomb. This is Pharaoh Horemheb, and he is greeting Nephthys. He's not yet dead. He's not yet divine. His beard is straight. Okay, so that's an important thing to notice. And in the second panel, he's making an offering to the god of mummification, which is Anubis. Okay, and you know, in the background, we have all the normal things. We've got all sorts of blessings. We've got all sorts of spells. And these are to help his soul go through the afterlife and get there safely. Okay, and then we have Nefertari. She's our third royal tomb. And as you can see, also very formal art in the same way, always, you know, with the head in profile, the body forward. So they have this kind of like weird frontal body front head profile position. They're all fully dressed. They're all wearing their wigs. Their makeup is neatly done. They're wearing their bracelets. They're wearing their collars. And you can see this is a very dignified royal tomb. Okay, so this is a particular type of style. They've got a format to adhere to. So this is not that much fluidity, but you know, nothing erotic going on here at all. Okay, next we have what is called a tomb of a noble. Now, nobles are not the same that we have today. Nobles was an appointment. So if you had a job as a scribe or as a priest or as a grain accountant, we're coming back to one because they didn't have money, so they used to trade in grain. So you know, he was an accountant like me, except he counted grain. Okay, so you would become a noble through your profession. So it's not through birth. But what's important here is that the people are wearing their wigs, they are wearing their collars, they are wearing their bracelets. Okay. There is in the foreground here, there's a little child who's naked on either side, and further down, you can see some naked people that are fishing in the river. But this is a very relaxed tomb. It's not a royal tomb. You can see they're hunting fowl, they're picking grapes, they're making wine. So these kinds of tombs of nobles were very interesting for archaeologists because they show more or less how normal everyday people lived. Less gods and goddesses and more kind of regular life. But still, even though we have naked people in this picture, nothing lewd going on. Okay, so this is Nacht again, and Nacht is with his wife. And again, notice the collars, notice the bangles, notice the wigs. All these things are very important, mostly to indicate that he's a noble. He is sitting on a chair. Okay. Noble people and royal people never sit on the floor. This is one thing that you can see is consistent. Low-class people of common birth sit on the floor. And in fact, you can see there's some guys over here to the left who are not even wearing wigs. Okay. None of the servants have got jewelry. None of them have got collars. None of them have got bracelets. So you can see very clear which social class they belong to. Okay. These are the one on the left is a reconstructed wig. And the one on the right is an actual wig covering, which you can see in New York. It's in the Metropolitan Museum. It's made out of little discs. And what they do is they normally have a wax cone, which they put on top of their heads. The wax cone is mixed with perfume. And as the wax melts, the perfume is kind of released and it acts as a form of deodorant. And I'm going to show you a picture of that later. Okay, so these are wigs, and again, these are wigs for very high status people, and this is how we know that they're high status people. Okay, so all right, so here she is. She's wearing a cone. Okay, so this is a tomb from a guy called Nebamun. Nebamun's tomb has been lost. One of the archaeologists, well, I don't know, I would like to call him a looter actually, found the tomb, found some very nice panels, ripped them off the wall. They're like made out of plaster, took them all off to England. They're all in the British Museum now. We don't know where this tomb is. The guy died. So he took the location of the tomb with him. We don't know, but we do have these very beautiful paintings. As you can see, they're very fluid, they're very relaxed. He's got a child sitting down holding his leg. The child is even wearing a collar, so you can see this as a high status child. And children have their hair dressed in a very particular way, shaved with just one lock. At the back is his wife. She's collecting lotus flowers. She's got one of those perfumed cones on her head. She's wearing a lotus flower on her head if you look carefully. And you can see they've got their wigs, they've got their jewelry. These are important people. And they're not royals, because royals are not shown doing this type of hunting in the field. They're normally talking to gods, but okay. But you realize they're high status people. Okay, so this is the child's hairstyle. As you can see, the head shaved with just one lock of hair. And there's some guy at a banquet there who got tired of his wig and has taken it off. So I just thought I'd show you. I'd show you that so you could see. Okay, and this is another one of the panels of Nebamun's tomb that was ripped off the wall. And we can see there are some musicians here, again, wearing their wax cones and their jewelry and their collars. There's some naked dancing girls, sort of semi-erotic, but nothing vulgar, certainly nothing pornographic. And, you know, a banquet is kind of an unusual setting for a tomb, but because this is not a royal tomb, he's kind of allowed to do this type of thing. So this is the closest we get to erotica in ancient Egypt, is we have some naked dancing girls. And these are the party guests. Again, you can see they're sitting on their chairs, they're wearing their matching jewelry and wigs, and they've all got their cones of perfume. And they look very nice. They look like very nice high-class ladies. Okay. So now we move on to sort of semi-erotic art that's religious. I don't know if you've attended the previous lectures of mine when I discussed the creation myth. So they had this god called Amun or Atum, depending on which dialect you're using. He's the creator god, and according to the Egyptians, he masturbated and the world came into existence from the masturbation, from the sperm. So you can see here, the sperm is going around creating the stars and the planets and other worlds and even the people. But again, nothing vulgar. It's just a kind of erotic, religious painting. And of course, as you can see, he's a god. He has the little bendy beard at the end. Okay, so this is the god Min. Min is always pictured with an erection. Min is the god of male sexual health. He's always in a very stylized posture. He's got his one arm up, grabbing his flail. Normally, he's actually shown holding his erection in his other hand. And he wears 2 ostrich plumes on his head. And this is the guy that you need to pray to if you have any problems with erectile dysfunction or low sperm count or any other kind of sexual problem if you're a man. So this is Min, the god of male health, okay? And again, he's always pictured with an erection, but nothing revolting, nothing offensive, nothing weird. Okay, so now we come on to slightly, okay. This is heaven and earth. Nut is the sky goddess. Sometimes in the canopy of the sky, she's shown with stars all over her body. In this case, not. The ancient Egyptians very strangely had an earth god that was male. This is very unusual. Almost in all cultures, the earth god is female, but they had a male earth god. The sky god was female. She's being held up by her father. You can see her father is a god. His beard is bent. And she's naked. Her nipples are visible. Her pubic hair is visible. It's considered quite normal. It's not offensive. Everything is fine. Okay, we're sort of getting on to the weirder and weirder pictures now. So this is a very unusual variation of heaven and earth, where we've got 2 gods, both with erections. It's supposed to be Osiris, and he actually has the stars drawn in his body. And you can see again that they're both gods because of their beards. Osiris is actually dead, but the theory is that he's shown here with an erection to show that he's still alive, he's still potent, he's still creating life. And Geb, the earth god, is self-sustaining, so he's like giving himself a bit of a autofellatio there, okay? But even though I would say this is beginning to be a little bit strange, it's kind of on the border of being a bit vulgar. It's religious. There are lots of prayers, there are texts, there are gods, and it's still considered to be acceptable. Okay, so this is the actual papyrus that it was taken from, Henutawi, and this is the full papyrus. So as you can see that on the extreme right, we have the sky god as female, then we have the sky god as male, but it's still okay, it's still religious. Right, now we move on to the so-called erotic papyrus, which is, quite frankly, I don't know, more like pornographic papyrus. But okay, so this is one of the cartoons. Okay, so basically what it consists of, it's 12 little pictures of various sexual positions, and then, as I told you, the animal panel. So this is taken from the website of the museum. They say it's not a work of pornography. They say it's comical, it's satirical, it's supposed to be funny. I don't know. You can decide for yourself in the end. Right. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, you're having a good laugh, are you? So this looks like a party that I never get invited to. I don't know. I'm a very boring person, obviously. But so we've got these. Actually, it's one guy, if you can see, and one lady. And I don't know. It seems to be like perhaps somebody who's had all his fantasies depicted for him. But as you can see, they're very strenuous positions. He's very active. He's very well endowed. He has a very high opinion of himself, I must tell you. And at some point, we understand that this is a very low-class guy. He's not wearing any jewelry. He's not wearing any makeup. He hasn't even bothered to shave. He's not wearing a wig. The lady, of course, is a very high-class lady. She's got all her jewelry on. She's wearing her wigs. She even has her lotus flower on her head. And I think this is probably what it's meant to be. It's meant to be like the fantasy of a workman, that he has, access to women of a higher class that he wouldn't normally be able to access. So at least in this papyrus he does. Look, we know he's a low-class guy. He's lying on the floor. Here at the bottom on the left, he's actually lying on the floor. He's fallen out of the bed. There's some jars of wine to indicate that he's a drunk. And he's drunken so much that he's actually fallen out of bed. And then in the top one on the extreme right, you can see he's so exhausted that 3 women have got to carry him off to bed. And of course, he's very acrobatic. There's one that's very ambitious. He's on a chariot. I don't know. It seems a little bit unrealistic, but okay. This is, you can tell me what you think afterwards. Whatever. Okay. So we have these positions.
There was no backseat on the car.
Aha, okay. That's right. So we have in one panel, we have those like 12 sexual positions. And then we have this, which is like a very confusing addition to how we would end such a papyrus. But we have these animals performing human duties. They're writing, they're playing musical instruments, they're driving chariots, they're making beer, they're doing all sorts of things. And quite frankly, I feel like maybe this part could be satire. So if you remember, okay, sorry, I just want to talk a little bit about the reconstruction. The bits where the dots are, if you look in the picture on the left, are the bits that are missing from the papyrus. So those were the bits that had to be drawn in, and then it was done in color, reconstructed in color. So we kind of have what we think they intended based on the fragments that exist. But as you can see, it's really in not very good condition. And then, that was the original, and that was what was constructed from the original. But it's, close enough, I think, to see that this guy's very badly behaved. I don't know. Okay, so this is just the color version. And as you can see, he's just doing a lot of acrobatic stuff here. Okay, so I think I'll just go back to repeating what I said before. He's not wearing any jewelry. He's not wearing a wig. He's not wearing any makeup. This is not a royal guy. This is not a noble guy. This is definitely a worker. And there's very little text. There's no prayers. There's no blessings. There's no gods. So, I kind of think that my daughter read this and she said to me, well, maybe it's a sex manual. I said it could be. It could be a cautionary tale. If you get really drunk and promiscuous, you fall down and you end up working like an animal. I don't know. Who knows? And it does exactly that. It goes from like this very sexy type of erotic porn, and then just the next panel is completely the animals. Like, so it's a very strange work. We don't know what to think of it. The problem is we have nothing to compare it to, and it's the only one. And I'll tell you the truth, I find that people, scholars, maybe are a little bit ashamed of it. They're very unwilling to like class it as a work of porn. Okay, so it's a very controversial papyrus. Anyway, so this again is the animals in color doing all sorts of things, making beer and riding chariots and playing musical instruments. there is a cat sort of up on the right in the top one who seems to be having sex with a bird. And the cat has got a lotus flower on its head. I don't know. So maybe, maybe this is the satire. Personally, I don't think the rest of it is satire at all. Okay, but what I wanted to say is that the scroll kind of like reminds me of the medieval drolleries in the illuminated manuscripts. And I remember, did you see the Monty Python's Killer Rabbit? Because actually, when I saw the movie, I thought that was nonsense. But when I started to do research, I realized that there are lots and lots of killer rabbits, and they appear in many, many manuscripts. So apparently, in the 1500s, rabbits were considered to be quite dangerous. They've got bows and arrows and swords, and they're killing people all the time. And all right, so these are the medieval drolleries. And again, these were like little jokes in the margins of the manuscripts that are meant to be funny, and sometimes they have some relevance to the texts. Okay, so this is a little creature playing a musical instrument. He's from Belgium, by the way. Anyway, and of course the word drollery is the French word for a joke. So okay, so what do we make of this papyrus? Honestly, we don't know. People theorize that maybe it was one guy who paid a scribe to write out all his fantasies. Maybe. What a lot of scholars say is that they think that it was actually for use by the wealthy to kind of make fun of the lower classes and to mock them. I don't know. I don't really find that satirical. To me, it just seems like it's self-evident that it's meant to be pornography. But according to the museum's website, what they say is that they feel that the papyrus was made for the higher classes because it was a kind of form of transgression. And then they say at the bottom there, you can see that why have they added the animal parody? Because it sort of continues with this idea of violating barriers between animals and humans and of violating social decorum. Okay, I don't agree with it, but that's the official stance. Okay, so I don't know. I kind of think that we're looking more like it was a guy who paid a scribe to sort of draw his first Playboy magazine. That's really my opinion. And again, really, I don't think that higher class people need to mock the lower classes. I don't think that, I'm going in the wrong direction, sorry. I don't think that there's anything religious about it. There are no prayers. There's almost no text, okay? And I think the most compelling thing that I can think of is that it wasn't found in a royal tomb. It wasn't found in a noble tomb. It was found in the workers' village. So I think it was a bunch of workers got together, maybe paid a scribe, made this text. Maybe it's a one-off work. That's why we've never found another one. I don't know. But I just think that what's happening is that modern scholars don't want to class it as a work of pornography. So they like to class it as a work of satire because it's, I don't know, more dignified maybe, or more scholarly, more intellectual. But, these are erotic works from other cultures. The first one is from Mesopotamia. That's like 4,000 years old. That one is from China, which is only about 600 years old. The thing that I thought was most interesting was her tiny, tiny little feet, because she's obviously one of these ladies who's had her feet bound. Okay, so then we have one from India, which, the Kama Sutra, which is very, very famous. And as you can see, these are not considered satirical works. So I don't know why we have to go and say that the ancient Egyptian one is satirical. And then, of course, this is from Pompeii, which is a painting on a brothel wall. So that was like Roman style. Okay. And again, what can we say? What is the true purpose of this papyrus? We don't really know. There is a little bit of text from time to time. One of the things that they did manage to translate was this "come behind me with your love." And it's a kind of very abstract, poetic way of encouraging the guy to perform more. But it's not really clear what the true intention was. So really, what do I think? Is it a work of satire? Personally, I don't really think so. I just think it's kind of like a playful side of ancient Egypt. You know, that maybe, as I've written here, that they're not just builders of tombs, that they're normal people with normal desires, and perhaps a sense of the absurd. And that's it. So now you can fight it out. I don't know. I have more questions than I have answers, but are there actually any questions? Or are you all in shock? You're all in shock.
Some people are probably shocked, but really,
Yeah.
Adele, thank you so much. There are
Okay.
some comments here.
Okay.
First from Nomi, maybe it's all part of the same fantasy, farmer in bed with noblewoman, while
Yes.
animals do his work. So
Yes.
nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Okay, so I'll give you back to Uri, I think. Where are you?
From Gila also.
May I say
Uri.
something?
Yes, of course.
Just excuse me, but thank you for your arousing lecture. It was very interesting. And certainly it compensated for that we don't have time to take a nap today. So we are well alert. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, it was a nice break in the middle of the day.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
But again, exciting and really arouses imagination.
It gives you lots of ideas for things that you still need to do, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, no backseat to the car. You got to do it on the chariot.
And by the way, you can find more on ancient culture, erotic arts, including the Egyptian papyrus in this book, The Erotic Arts.
Thank you.
About the satire and comical, remember that the difference between comedy and tragedy is that when it happens to somebody else, then it's a comedy.
Yes, well, actually, Woody Allen has an even better definition. He says the difference is just time. Is that it's tragedy until enough time passes, and then it can become funny. So that's, I don't know. It's 3,000 years old. You tell me what you think. Maybe it's funny now. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Okay, there were a couple of comments also from Gila, but there are no questions as I see them.
Okay.
And
actually, I don't have any answers. All right.
The man seems to be wanting to show he's dominating the woman, pulling her hair.
Yeah.
Okay. Shock describes it well. Vulgar is a good description.
Yes, I thought so too.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
So for the next lecture, and again, thank you, Adele, and really, it's a different view on culture, and well,
it's a part of ancient Egyptian society nobody knows exists. So it's kind of very shocking.
Sometimes we prefer not to talk about it, but we know it existed.
Exactly.